time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. You don't listen, maybe now it's time. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's the time. MouseKast podcast is diving in.
Hello and welcome to MouseKast, the podcast where the mind meets the magic. It's going to be boys' night tonight. Megan's feeling a little bit under the weather, so Megan, if you happen to be watching this or listening to this later on, we hope you feel better very, very soon. So like I said, the boys are out tonight.
You and you.
That's, let's hope not.
Sorry, I hope you feel better, Megan.
Yeah, hope Megan's feeling better. Okay, so tonight we're talking about kindness in chaos. No, we're not just talking about Hawk, because that is just chaos in general. But no, we're talking about turbulent times in the theme parks. And you know, guys, unfortunately, you know, we're kind of starting out on this on a little bit of a heavy-hearted topic. You know, we're kind of talking about safety, etiquette, and expectations, but this all is kind of coming out of a very sad time that happened a few weeks ago over in Epic Universe, where there was a very tragic incident that happened over at Stardust Racers, where unfortunately someone lost their life on that attraction. And so we thought it's time to kind of get into this realm, because sadly this is not the first time, and I fear that it might not be the last time that we have incidents that happen on attractions, whether they're from, and we're not getting into, you know, guilt and blame and all that kind of stuff. We want to kind of get into just how does all this stuff get going? And so, you know, Hawk, this was kind of your idea, so I'm going to let you kind of kick this thing off.
Well, when we say this is my idea, we all agreed that this is a topic that has to be done, because I think one of the things that you're starting to see happen, and there's been other incidents since Stardust in other theme parks where they had a guest in a coaster climb up onto the second platform, out of area, wasn't supposed to be up on it, had to get pulled down, had to be pulled off. People are, you know, getting entitled and doing things, going into areas they're not supposed to go into, not paying attention to safety guidelines. You know, there's a lot of rules. You know, we've heard people joke, and we've joked about it in the past, that, you know, you see the posts in a lot of the theme park groups. My daughter's 2 inches too short to ride this ride. How can I, can I buy platform sneakers so she can get in? You know, can I spike their hair up? Can I wear? People are always looking for an angle to beat the system. And sometimes that angle is literally at a risk of safety to themselves or to others. You know, the people that smuggle phones onto rides or do things that they're not supposed to, then hold that phone up, let it go. When you're on a 60-mile-an-hour roller coaster, there was a ride at Cedar Park that had to get shut down because someone took a phone to the face at 100 miles an hour. Like, there are things that we need to address as safety concern. As theme park lovers, we have to respect the fact that there are rules in place for a reason, for the safety of our loved ones and yours, that need to be obeyed. And in a society that has just become more and more entitled, in a cast and team members that have become more and more frustrated and overworked at times, not always as appreciated as they used to be, it's harder for team members and cast members to maintain that positive, classic Disney magic all the time. This is a tough thing for people to do, and we've got to get to a point where we're willing to have conversations that are kind of hard, just like as a parent with kids, where you kind of have to be like, it's time to smarten up, you know?
Yeah. Well, and so, Huck, to your point, I mean, And the height limit on an attraction is a classic example of this. It's there for your safety. It's, as you said, being a parent, how many times as parents, and we're all parents at some point, we all act like kids too, but that's another story. It's for your own good. Now, I understand that, you want to have your little son or daughter be ready to ride Space Mountain. They've been looking forward to it for, 2 years as you plan this trip to Walt Disney World, or you're looking forward to riding, Hagrid's motorbike adventure because, it's over at Universal and you can't wait. You're a Harry Potter fan, but you're an inch too short. Don't game it. It's there for your safety.
Well, one of the other problems too, Chuck, and in fairness to consumers on this, sometimes there are some inconsistencies because you can be measured at the front of the ride. I've seen this personally numerous times. Seen a kid get measured at the front of the ride. They get up to the entrance of the ride, about to board. There's another pole there. They measure them, different measurement, not tall enough. That's tough. Like when you're that close, I can see the frustration as a parent. You got approved at the entrance. You wait the hour. You get to the front. You're ready to go. They're like, let me measure again. Negatory, Big Ben. You're not going. I can see where, as a consumer, that can be frustrating. But you do have to remember, to Chuck's point, that cast member is trained to do their job, and it's not the same one that's standing down at the bottom. They don't communicate it. I wish what they did, and I've seen this done in other parks, which I think is impressive. There's a central measuring area at the entrance of the park. The child is given a corresponding bracelet to what rides they can ride or not. Takes away the confusion. It creates consistency. These are some of the things I think Disney can learn from. But there are, I don't know if Danny is watching tonight or not. I'm kind of hoping Danny's on, but because I'd love to get some feedback from him. Some of the things that happen, though, when you have special needs children, when you have people battling a handicap or an injury or back condition or neck condition, these things are often listed on the list of not suggested to ride this ride. You are taking a risk if you choose to ride this ride with this condition. These things are posted. And sadly, in the case of the gentleman that passed that Epic, it does appear there were some conditions that make it questionable whether or not he should have been on the ride. Now,
and as I understand it, also, this was not his only ride, too.
No,
so,
he had ridden 6 times that day prior, according to what I had read.
According to published reports.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and perhaps we will never know the actual circumstances of what transpired. It may not come out publicly, but the ride vehicle was inspected. They cooperated with OSHA. Universal did what it needed to do to cooperate within the investigation. The family still wants the ride shut down, but it was determined the ride functioned as it was supposed to, and there was no direct result of the passing of the gentleman was not due to a malfunction or error, user error, like the operator error, rather.
Yeah, again, this is according to published reports. So just to make it clear, we are passing along these are published information.
Now, the attorney has been very loud representing the family. Unfortunately, in my opinion, that's everyone knows who that attorney is. We're not gonna. I think it's the wrong guy sending the wrong message. I feel and my heart bleeds for the family, and I do think they should have legal representation and they should have some kind of recourse or payment that Universal does come to an agreement with. I'm sure there will be an agreement behind closed doors with that attorney. It may be in the open, depending on what it is. But, I don't like the image that attorney presents for theme parks. I've heard some of the things he said, and he's talking without knowledge on so just go Google some of his press conferences. And if you're a theme park nut, you're going to laugh at some of the stuff that's coming out of his mouth. The situation is tragic. Do not get me wrong in that. Like, Jen and I rode that ride, and I was like, the fact that we could have banged our head around and this conversation could have just as easily been happening about us or you or anyone. This could have happened to anybody. But we need to be smart in understanding the warnings that are issued at the front of a ride. And we need to respect that and not feel as though that warning doesn't apply to me for some reason. We are just in this culture of people that feel like that doesn't apply to me. Waiting in line, that doesn't apply to me. I'm going to cut you and your family because I'm better. I'm different. I get a different set of rules. And sadly, we're seeing that not only in guests, but with some cast members and team members have a sense of entitlement now. We really need to get back to a point, I feel, that communication and kindness get pushed back to the forefront. And honestly, we're in a world right now where let's take some common sense back to the forefront too, and examine what we're doing and see if does this decision really make sense? Does it benefit us? Does it benefit the park? Does it benefit the safety of my family? And does it benefit others? We all paid to be there.
Is it, and Matt, I want to hear your thoughts on this too, because I know, you've been there and you have seen these, guests behaving badly and things like that. And folks that, another example, back in 2005 and then again in 2006, twice on Mission Space. Now, this is back when it was just Mission Space Orange. There were 2 fatalities that happened 1 year after the other, 2005, and then a second one in 2006. And in apparently both instances, the attraction operated just as it was supposed to. It was apparently individuals that did not pay attention to the copious safety warnings that were all over the place in Mission Space. Interestingly enough, when the Mission Space underwent a big refurb around 2017, I want to say, that's when they added Mission Space Green, which was a lesser version to kind of accommodate those individuals that wanted to do Mission Space but could not or did not want to handle the higher intensity level of attraction. But, Matt, you've been into these, and, how many people walk right by all those safety warnings and it's like, no, not me. I don't worry about that.
Personally, I've actually never seen anybody really go like that crazy. So, you guys have frequented the parks more than I have. So, but something that Hawken mentioned, and I think it starts crossing the line of, the safety, don't, suggestion not to go on this ride if, this. Well, then those people that paid that money are just like, well, now they feel like they're going to be singled out, or I hate to say segregation, but whatever. You start putting these people into like groups, and there's like, oh, I paid good money. I feel fine. I should be able to ride this ride. Well, if you fall into this group, then maybe you shouldn't. And but that's. Well, it creates a back and forth, unfortunately, and then that's when you turn into like you get the lawsuits, stuff like that, the entitlement and stuff like that.
To your point, Matt, though, when this gentleman passes as a result of something like that, that becomes a very sad wake-up call to other people again to pay attention for a while. Do you know what I mean? The point is that's sad is that instead of making responsible decisions beforehand, it takes tragedy or nonsense or lawlessness to make change. Disney, Universal, and all these parks that put up safety warnings, that's their proactive effort to prevent these issues from occurring. Negligence on the part of a guest or refusal to acknowledge those warnings creates the reaction that they have to do. And then unfortunately for other people, now those rules become more strict because Universal has to cover themselves, or Disney or anything else, from not just the common sense rules, but now we have to add caveats because people got sue happy. And I'm not saying that's the case with this family at all. I want to be crystal clear on that. But a ride was taken down due to negligence in Orlando at Icon Park just a couple of years ago. That was the error of the ride operator, and it was proven, and the ride was taken down. The fact that the ride reopened for Stardust Racers and they cooperated and went through everything, it leads me to believe that it's probably not an operator error. It's a tragic accident. Right. Should that person have been on the ride? To be determined. That's not for me, you, or anyone to figure out. They'll figure that out in the court system. But I think one of the things I want to touch on, because we're going to try to keep tonight to 45 minutes, the etiquette of being a respectful guest. Give me two things, each of us. We're going to do two things. Matt, I want you to start because I always steal your thunder. Two things. Etiquette of being a respectful guest. What would be your top two things you would say it's our responsibility as guests in a theme park to have this habit? What are two things you feel are most important when it comes to the etiquette of a respectful guest?
My two things are just, it goes beyond theme parks. It is in everyday general life. It's respect and it's common sense. I feel like nobody respects anybody anymore. It's me, 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 me. And, when being Disney adults or just being, going to these theme parks, it was like, oh, I spent this money. I deserve, I want. It's like, you paid as, whatever you decide to pay, great. That's what you decide to do. If somebody did it, has a different experience. That's the great thing about like Disney or theme parks in general. Everybody can have a different experience. And it can be, what's great for me might not be great for somebody else. But just
and those watching, feel free to also put your comments in. I would love to see the feelings on the etiquette of being a respectful guest. If you have commentary to add, please do so. Matt, continue. I'm sorry.
And I feel like people just like, what I love to do is I like to, as many times as I've gone, I like to enhance other people's experience. I know I mentioned before about a little boy that's sitting next to me on the dinosaur ride. I was just like, okay, he's never been. A, I'm not going to ruin the ride for him. And B, I'm going to respect him. And, if he's going to talk to me, I'm going to talk back to him. I'm not going to be like, hey, I have to get to this next ride. Yeah, great. See you later. Just, it's one of the biggest things. Like I said, it's not just in the parks. It's everywhere, disrespect. And it's common sense. Like,
I agree.
It's one of those, like you said, if you don't measure up to the ride, you're not supposed to go on it, then don't go on it. There'll be right. Let's put it this way. At this point, the parks aren't going anywhere. So you're going to wait 6 months, a year. It is what it is. Or maybe you wait until, it was like, oh, I only have time to go, one time and this, that, and stuff like that. Okay, wait until, you can go online, I'm pretty sure, and look up height restrictions. So maybe like, hey, you're at this height now. If we wait, maybe push one more year, you can ride all these rides or whatever you want to do.
Right.
There's so much research you can do ahead of time. I just feel like it's just like a no-brainer. It's just like you can avoid some of this stuff. So to me, it's just
Chuck, what would you say your two are?
Well, and I definitely will echo Matt's absolutely and wholeheartedly. So I'm going to kind of build on top of that. The first I would kind of add to, and this kind of gets where Matt was talking about, but is to pack your patience. There are going to be times, I don't care when during the year, you're going to any one of the parks, you're going to encounter lines and crowds and everything like that. Pack your patience. And that is more than just sitting there and waiting. What that means is when you're in line, be kind in line. That means be kind to the other guests. Be kind, most especially, please, to the cast members and team members who are there. Their entire purpose is to make sure that you have a great experience. Let's see here. We have a comment. BC Productions, I think that's Tom, has said it's not the worst problem in the world, but I have had this, I believe, happen to me many times. People let their small children push their own strollers around, and I've been hitting the ankles more times than I can count. And Tom, you actually got to my number 2, which is if you are in a stroller, if you have an ECV, especially ECVs as well. Look, I understand that being a disabled individual, that being around in the parks can be challenging. I've been there from the end where I was in one time in the parks, and unfortunately my son had a broken foot, and so he was in a wheelchair, and so I'm sitting there pushing the chair, and I feel it because boy was it challenging. We were in the parks at a busy time, and think about getting through a busy main street, when during fireworks or whatever, and there's 1.5 billion people all on that 15-20 foot strip of pavement along Main Street. But even then, you see folks in their strollers, and they're trying to push people along and hitting the back of ankles, or ECVs, people in ECVs, and you hear this meet all the time. You're not going anywhere, and the reason you're not going anywhere is because the folks in front of you aren't going anywhere, and the reason they're not going anywhere is because the people in front of them, and so on and so forth. It's a crowd. So just be patient. Be patient.
And to touch on that, I was going to kind of go in the same road a little bit. But give way. If you see someone in an ECV, it is twice as hard.
Yeah, that's where I was also going to go too.
I can't tell you how many times I've blocked a walkway or blocked some people from crossing to let 3 or 4 ECVs that are backed up into their little ECV convoy, because they all wind up trying to follow each other, because that's the only way they can get through the area. You'll wind up with a line of them. And I do think bringing some of your own magic to the table is super important. Like, just be kind. We thank cast members. We appreciate their crappy days when we see them. You can tell when it's hard or challenging. If you see a cast member getting berated and you're next in line, walk up and say, hey, sorry you had to deal with that. Notice, make a difference for them. It makes you feel better about your day. It makes them feel better about the day. And maybe you change the day for 2 people, but that's awesome. Like, if that's all you can change, that's a great thing. But I think, the etiquette of being a respectful guest is just like when you go to family for the holiday. You're a guest in someone else's home. Respect them, even though you paid for it. I understand you paid for it, but so did everyone else there that day. You're not more entitled than the person next to you. You both paid for it that day. You both deserve it. And you're both going to have to wait throughout the day. If Joe Schmo gets in front of you on the first ride, maybe you're in front of him on the next one. If something happens and a ride breaks down and Joe Schmo got on right before it broke down and you have to wait and then can't ride, boo-hoo, that's life. Like, things happen. And I hate to say it that bluntly, but we really need to get back to this. Nobody is entitled or owed anything.
Absolutely. And the word is called courtesy.
Correct.
It is called courtesy. And I'm going to add one, and Tom says 100% with Hawk. Boy, that's a shocker. Tom agrees with Hawk for once. Wow. As he says, that really hurts. But that's really it. We get down to courtesy. And Hawk, I'm going to talk about something that you brought up either at the last show or probably 2 shows ago.
We got to be careful because we're going to wind up on one topic. And
the point is, though, in the line of people saving space in line. Again, be courteous. If you know you got a big group, get the group together before you get in line. Okay, moving on. Okay,
so the responsibilities of park and staff management. This is something I think people forget. As you're at a theme park, there are people there doing a job just like you do your job back at home over the course of the week. And you don't like the outcome sometimes in your job, but that doesn't mean that you get to change the way you do your job because somebody dislikes the outcome, whether it's you or not. And there is an expectation of safety, concern, policy. There are mandated aspects of the roles of team members and cast members that they have to follow. At Disney, for example, why's the ride down? You're never going to get an answer. It's never going to be a real informative answer because they're not supposed to tell you. They're told not to. Don't get mad at them because they don't. Go find a manager if you have a problem. Don't take it out on that cast member. But the responsibilities of park staff and management are to enforce the rules and regulations that keep us safe, the rules and regulations that keep the park within the mandated codes it has to follow. That can be fire code, that can be safety, that can be policies in the event of wind, rain, or lightning. There can be multiple things that are going to affect your time in those parks. And if you're told by a cast member or manager that you need to follow this rule, don't try to question whether or not the rule should exist. It's not your job to do that. It's their job to enforce it, respect it. Don't.
Yeah, this one's real simple. Hawk, I've got it. If you want to pull it up, you can check this out ahead of time. It's on the Disney World website. It's right up there under the rules. Here they are. The general Walt Disney World property rules. I'm not going to read through all these things because, as you can see, as I scroll and continue to scroll and continue to scroll,
the rest of the episode.
It'd be the whole. I mean, there's a lot of things that are here to deal with, but this is your responsibility. And again, right at the top, you can see it: help and rules. So, be sure to familiarize yourself ahead of time with what the rules are. Think of these as rules. Disney law. Yeah, these are your rules.
Rules. So what are the responsibilities of park staff and management to enforce these rules?
Yeah, and that's the thing. They have to do that. Yeah, your job, the park staff is almost like, probably not the best analogy, but they're like park police. They have to make sure that you're following the rules, which are the park laws. Okay, so Matt, agree to that.
Matt, what are your thoughts on the responsibilities of the park staff and management? Like, as a family man, parent of a couple of small kids, what do you want to see from park staff and management?
So it's kind of, this day and age, it's really tricky, I feel like, because it goes back to the whole respect aspect that I had mentioned, because I feel like they don't get enough respect for the job that they're trying to do. Like, they have, I think the mindset of people nowadays that go are just like, hey, it's a cast member. Maybe I'll get pixie dust, or maybe I'll get some kind of special treatment, stuff like that. They don't think like, hey, this cast member is more here for my safety. They're looking out for my, for everybody's well-being. Like, like you said, they have a job to do. They have rules they have to follow. So just let them do their job. Don't argue with them. Just be like, this is simple. Okay, I get it. Like, common sense, respect. Once again, it ties back into being a park guest. It's like, okay, you may not like what the cast member has to say on why the ride's down. Maybe it's some kind of, smart comment, but it's more just like, it's part of like the, how do I put it? I feel like almost like the Disney experience. Like, there's always like this made up, like, hey, right now it's, we're doing, whatever construction's going on, they've always got something, some kind of witty saying inside, like, hey, it's under construction. No, there's something else behind it. Cast member might give you the same response for when it rides down and be like, oh, okay, haha, like, I get it. But most people just want to sit there and be like, no, I paid good money, I want to be on this ride, or why is this? I don't understand. And they'd rather be argumentative with cast members, and I feel like that makes their job harder to do. When if it's simple, like right now, like, if we see a cast member, they interact with us, my kids are like, thank you. Like, even with the characters, waving, thank you. Just some kind of respect towards, like, the cast members and stuff like that.
So that being said,
boils down to.
Right. So that being said, obviously, courtesy and respect are the two big, recurring themes here. Now, this one is kind of, to me, what potentially was the problem with the gentleman on Stardust. Okay. The balance between thrill and safety, because there has been reports that, the gentleman had a hard time controlling his head. there was no neck restraints on Stardust Racers because the way it's designed with the same as Velocicoaster, it's only a lap bar, much like Mako at SeaWorld or other rides around that have been created in recent years to avoid that, instant migraine of the Hulk and rides where you have the over-the-shoulder harness, your head's whacking around. I almost poke my hearing aids through my ears every time I ride it. Those can be painful. These coasters are designed to be more comfortable and give you free range of motion. But if you don't have control of your own motion, that can obviously be problematic. So if he had issues controlling his head or neck, this could have been very problematic for him in the ride. Maybe that was something that happened. As I said, I don't know. I've only gone on reports I've read.
Right. We can only do what published reports here. But to your point, though, Hawk, the whole issue there is that, unfortunately, we're seeing way too many guests. You talk about the balance, and that's the key part of this, balance between the thrill. The theme parks want you to have a thrill. That's why they built crazy coasters like Velocicoaster that attempt to throw you off into the sunset. I know Hawk loves Velocicoaster. But the key part, though, there is the last part. It's safety. They're not going to do anything at all that is unsafe knowingly, okay? They're not going to.
Those warning signs, keep in mind, Chuck, the other side of that is there are warning signs there that say ride at your
That is correct, yes.
risk.
Absolutely.
If you suffer from any of these conditions. And it's a laundry list. I qualify for about half of them on every ride I go on. And I know that. Do I have stress, anxiety, heart pain, headaches, lower back pain, neck problems?
Every day of the week. Yeah.
I have all of it.
That last part, though, is the most important part. It is ride at your own risk. You are taking a risk when you go. We take a risk every single day, folks. I mean, just getting in the car, you're taking a risk. But
100%.
Riding onto a roller coaster, though, you are taking a risk and putting yourself into a situation where there is a perceived and a heightened level of potential danger. That's part of the thrill, guys.
Yep. My body has been in pain since I was 22 years old. Every day I'm in pain. That is something I've dealt with since I was 22 years old. Shoulder pain, knee pain, hip pain, back pain, neck pain.
Well, we know he's a pain in the butt, but that's another story.
I provide butt pain for other people. Yeah. But the reality is, look, in all honesty, we need to accept the fact that there are balances to walk, that we take a risk on our own accord in these theme parks, and they cannot be held liable when we are warned, suggested not to ride if we suffer from these conditions, and we elect to do so anyway. That becomes our choice. And that's a dangerous line to walk. And people do need to understand that walking that is super fine line, because it can be the difference. Sadly, for this gentleman, it was the difference between life and death. And that is a harsh statement, but it's a real one. And it's one we have to consider. Like in this case, again, I don't know the details, but the guy that climbed up on the roller coaster the other day, or these idiots that jump out of moving ride vehicles or try to do stuff, if one of these guys, even on something as simple as living with the land, you jump out, you're in the wrong spot, your leg gets crushed between the boat and the track, you could lose a limb, you could lose a finger, you could lose, these could be life-changing severe injuries that alter your life forever because you made an irresponsible decision.
I mean, just at the lightest thing, let's assume you get out of the boat and you survive the thing and you've got all of your hands and toes, you're banned from the parks for life instantaneously. Yeah. I mean, that goes without saying.
There's a balance between that. And
so where's the risk?
Point. That
Yeah,
brings
and
us to the next one.
right, exactly. This
impact-
whole thing is about entitlement.
But the impact of entitlement culture on theme park operations. How many situations have you seen over the last 5 years that have literally taken the post-COVID era into people say the magic's not the same. The pixie dust doesn't happen the way it used to. You have to pay for everything now. The cast members aren't as happy. What do you think caused that? I personally think the impact of the entitlement culture has created its own monster to the point where parks have been forced to have to react.
Yeah.
by
So
saying,
Matt, you're nodding your head.
stuff
Kind of follow along.
taking advantage of it.
So that's
Go ahead,
one of my biggest like pet peeves. Like currently is just like you said, this culture of entitlement. Like everybody, something minor happens and people want at their own stupidity, and then they want to be rewarded for it. It's just like no, it doesn't work. It shouldn't work that way. But unfortunately, it does. Like stupid people get rewarded for doing stupid things.
Everybody wants to rattle off the F word. They want to get something for free. That's it. Like that's it. They
my second
want
favorite F word.
that 4-letter F word. Free. That's everybody's looking for something now. There's an agenda behind every action. And it's funny. We've given out thank you cards since 2017, almost a decade. We've given out over 65,000 of those cards now. Okay. We give them out all the time. There are still people that laugh and don't react to them because they think we're looking for something. I'm like, I hand those cards to guys cleaning the bathrooms. If they think I want a souvenir urinal, I will guarantee, urine stone, I will guarantee that they're wrong. I just want to thank people for working because I appreciate how hard that job is. And it's funny to me that people assume you're looking for something. You can't even be genuinely kind in this day and age without someone feeling as though you have an agenda.
Social media.
Well, and that's where I was going to go with this is that, you see this and then everybody posts out, oh my God, look what I did. Look what happened to me, whatever. And then, well, I want that. And I think this, it started before this, what I'm about to talk to, but I think this may have unintentionally exacerbated the situation. Anybody remember the Year of a Million Dreams? And Disney was walking around. This was in, around 2007, 8, somewhere.
I think it was like 2007.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Disney was giving out a lot of free stuff. Free pins, free super fast passes. They were giving out every night. Somebody got a free night in the castle suite every single night. And I think that that
out by like 7 a.m.
Yeah, you had to be out of there pretty quick. But I got some free stuff. I still have some free super fast passes and a couple of free pins and things like that. And actually, I ended up getting a free hat by mail-in, free ear hat by mail-in. But all of a sudden, I think ever since then, and I think social media has really kind of exacerbated this to a fairly well of we got to get stuff if I can somehow get it for free. Oh, I'm going to put myself into a situation where something happens and maybe a cast member is going to give me free whatever clothing because my shirt got ruined by this, that, or the other, even though I'm really the one that tried to foment that and make that happen. And so to Matt's point, it's people acting stupid and being rewarded for it. I think Disney's still trying to do the right thing because they want to make sure that the guest experience is as positive as it can possibly be. It's on us, you and me, and everybody listening, everybody watching. We have to be the ones that have to behave responsibly and make sure that we're being the best people that we can be, kind people, courteous people, considerate people in the parks.
So that bridges to the final point of tonight's conversation and how kindness and empathy can bridge the gap between patrons and employees. So, how do we get the Disney employees back to the point where they can trust society enough to feel what they used to feel when they're in the parks, or are we past that point?
I don't think so. I think we can get back there. Go back and watch some. There are a few film clips, and I do mean film, from Disneyland in like the 1950s. Okay, watch how people were dressed, shirt, tie, and the courtesy was all there.
People took pride in themselves now.
Exactly.
It's like people will go to a park looking like they're either out for the night at the club or in their pajamas or didn't shower today and just got up and rolled out. Like, I will tell you, as a grown middle-aged man, I'm uncomfortable at times with what people wear in the parks.
Oh, I am too. I'm uncomfortable. I'm embarrassed to see what people are in the parks. Especially
at Horror Nights, I'll be honest. That one's a little more justified. I understand why it's an adult-themed event. You know, I get that a little more than walking by the princesses and seeing some young girl dressed in a totally inappropriate manner at Disney at 2:00 in the afternoon. And I'm not talking about the princesses, just to be clear. But the realities are, I think there is a certain level that we're just never going to get back to. But I think we can get back to a comfortable level. And I think it seems as though, even though there is a lot of extreme decision-making on either side of things across the world right now, it seems as though there is a big wave and push of common sense coming back in our country.
I would have to agree. There's, to your point, you're seeing extremes on both sides, and let us all be clear: we are not talking politics here at all. We're just talking about society in general. We're seeing a lot of extremes. But to your point, Hawk, I am too also. And Matt, tell me what you think. There's this groundswell in the middle of kind of this super silent majority who has all kind of said, you know what? We're coming back to common sense. We're coming back to courtesy, kindness, compassion, and this idea of collaboration and trying to come to some sort of common ground. Yeah, really.
That look on your face, like I'm like, apparently that's not happening in Rhode Island.
I want to be there because let me tell you, you know what? Let's put it this way: I can get flipped off for somebody cutting me off. Okay. I don't see where all this common sense and
no.
Coming back.
Okay, so Matt,
in general,
listen. If you drive anywhere, you're getting flipped off anyway.
Oh yeah, no.
And I'll be honest.
And that's not just a New York thing, guys. That's everywhere now, unfortunately.
I'll be honest. On I-4 in the last week, there's been a fatality every day. So, just in the mileage between my house and Orlando, there's been a fatality on our highway every night. Mm-hmm. People are driving crazy. People aren't paying attention. People are constantly on these and sitting in the fast lane, talking to somebody, not paying attention to the fact they're only going 60 when the speed limit's 70, and people are trying to do 90. So people are swerving around people. It's a mess. That happens everywhere. But reality is,
that goes back to the common sense point. It's common sense.
But we are starting to, as a country, realize that the loudest voices on either end, even in theme parks, the TikToks, the media, the social media people, the loudest voices are on the fringes. They're the extremes. Like what the general normalized people, when you still meet into them and you talk to a family and you meet people in the parks, they're there to have fun. Mm-hmm. They're there to enjoy themselves. You still find magic. You still find common sense. You've just got to take the time to open your mind up and not be judgmental and experience it. I think, to Chuck's point, there is a groundswell of people realizing either extreme just really isn't healthy on either side. The entitlement mentality doesn't work, but neither does you do it because I say so. 45 minutes, we're done. Thanks, you gentlemen.
There we go.
Great show.
But to this point, we wanted to bring this up because here's where you come in. We need you to join us in this effort. We need you to be part of this movement, whatever it is that we're starting to see, of trying to bring courtesy, kindness, compassion back into everyday life, but especially when we're at the parks. We want the parks to be as enjoyable an experience for ourselves and for every one of you the next time that you go and every time after that. But in order to do that, that requires all of us, okay? So we hope that you will join us in this journey. We also hope, by the way, that you will join us every Tuesday night, because we do this live every Tuesday night right here on our Facebook page, right here on our YouTube channel. Coming up next week, guess what? You're up. That's right, you. It's open mic night coming up next week. So be sure to bring your ideas and your thoughts. What do you want to talk about? Because you take the stage next week on Open Mic Night. I want to say a huge thank you to both Hawk and to Matt for being here again. Megan, we hope you're feeling better. You've been listening and watching MouseKast, the podcast where the mind meets the magic. And so until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you for listening to MouseKast. We appreciate the time you share with us. And tonight was a very fun show. And joining us is a must. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's time.